podcast. As always, I'm your host, Smitty, back with another one, man. And we're here. We're in the basement. We live and direct. It's different, but it's the same. Like we back in full effect. And for those of you who don't know, but now you know, you always know, there was a lot happening these last few months of my life, and that prevented me from getting here in this studio to record on YouTube. So my brother, David, was gracious enough to take all my podcasting equipment and put it upstairs, and I was able to record out of his old room. And so all my most recent episodes that don't have video to it was all recorded in a bedroom. Now we're actually back down in the studio. There's some advantages, so there's also some disadvantages. Like being in the studio, sometimes you be hearing footsteps, my furnace be kicking on. There'd be a lot of different things going on down here, bro. It'd be a lot of different things. So don't be surprised if you hear something. But also, it's a lot of advantages because I can get back on YouTube. I can be in a space where I feel more comfortable. I can deliver different dynamics that I can't normally give. I can point to the camera and be all dramatic and all this extra stuff. It's wonderful. I love it. Now, normally I have two camera angles. First day back, we're just using this camera right here. It's one angle. Don't expect it to change. I'm sorry. Some people was like, oh, this episode feels different. You didn't have two camera angles. Then they pointed out and I'm like, listen, I'm only one man. I'm only one man. And today, first episode back, we're only doing one camera angle. But with all that being said, before we get into it, please don't forget to leave a review if you're listening on audio platforms. If you're driving your car, wait till you stop. Don't do it at the red light. Like, get to your destination first, but go in there, rate us 5 stars, leave us a review. That is important for many reasons. And one of the biggest reasons is that it helps us to reach new listeners. It's nice that I have a core fan base, but we need to continue to reach people outside of that. And in order to do that, you got to leave a review. So with that being said, let's get into the pod. Where are my notes at? Right here. So I got this thing on my phone. Y'all know what it is, the quotable folder. And in that folder, I wrote something down. I want to say this was probably a month ago. I was watching this YouTube video and this dude said something and he said, oh man, and I'm forgetting his name. Oh man, but it was on the Express Yourself Black Man podcast. I want to give them their credit. It was on that podcast. And I think it was episode 97, but I can't remember the dude's name. I can remember the number of the episode, but not the dude's name. It was TJ something, but we'll figure it out before the end of this. And he said that there is a difference between knowing value and appreciating value. And that stood out to me for several reasons. And that's what we're going to get into in this podcast. I had to put it in the phone, put it in the folder, save it, because what? And that may ring to some of y'all right now already, but to me, it hit different. So let's get into it. There's a difference between knowing value and appreciating value. So for me, how I took that, like the knowing, the cognitive piece of it, like let's take a BMW, for example. You know, a BMW costs money, costs more money than a Toyota Camry. It costs more money than a Honda Civic. It's a luxury vehicle, right? So you know, in your mind, you know the value of the car. There's a sticker price, Kelley Blue Book value, MSRP, all that different stuff. You know the value of the car. It's not until you have that car that you start to appreciate the value of the car. And the appreciative aspect of it is action based, right? So now once you have the car, if you don't appreciate that car, you're not going to get your oil changes on time. You're going to go get some cheap tires instead of the tires they recommend. You may go get an aftermarket part instead of going to get a dealership part. You may be going to Joe Schmo that says he fixed cars instead of going to the BMW dealership to get it fixed. You know, you may let something linger on more than it should. You know, you may go certain extra miles between the regularly scheduled maintenance. And the appreciation is in how you care for things. You know, like you can know the value. Like, yes, I know a BMW might cost me $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Depends on which one you get, even more, right? I can know the value. It's not until I'm caring for this thing that I'm appreciating the value. And how you care for this thing shows the level of appreciation you have for what it is that you have in your life. Now you see where I'm going with this. It's not just cars. Let's switch this over to people. You can know that somebody is really important in your life. It's another thing to appreciate the value they bring in your life. Let's frame it in the form of parents, right? When you're a kid, you know your parents are important, right? Like, you know your mom's important, you know your dad's important, whoever your parental figure is, your grandparents, or aunt or uncle, whoever it may be, you know they're important. It's not until you reach a certain point in life where you can start to really appreciate the value of your parents. Like, you know they're valuable. It's weird not having them. Like, let's say you're a kid and your parents leave for a little bit. It seemed lit at first. And then after a while, you're like, dang, when they coming back home, what you doing right now? But, you know they're valuable. You know, they're your caregivers. They give you food, shelter, water, all these different things. But it's not until you get to a certain point in your life, or when they're no longer around, that you start to like really appreciate the value. And that comes in how you care for them. And, when you're younger, you go from, I don't want to spend time with my parents, till you get a little bit older. Like, I want to kick it with my pops. I want to hang out with my mom. And they start to become these different people in your life all of a sudden. And it just happens overnight. At least for me, it did. I was like, man, you know what? I kind of do want to go hang out with my dad right now. And y'all on this podcast, y'all know relationships with my father have been challenging. But now, if he calls me, I'm answering the phone like ASAP. Like, hey, Dad, what's going on? What's up, man? What you doing? And we ain't even talking about nothing. And even that in itself is beautiful. But with the people in your life, you can know the value of the person in your life, but it's in how you care for them that you really show the appreciation of that value. It's not just, it's so much more than just saying, hey, I love you. It's how do we demonstrate this love? How do we put this love into action? How do we, in our day-to-day lives, in our day-to-day dealings, in how we walk and talk, show that we love this person? And, just saying I love you is the cognitive for me. But then it's the demonstration of that love. And even just taking it off of parents and you put it into a romantic relationship, since we're talking about love, it's one thing to know you have a good partner, know you have a great partner, know that that person is amazing. It's another thing to appreciate that value. You can know the value. You can know you got a good person, but you have to appreciate that value and how you care for that person, how you nurture that person, how you continue to build that relationship, how you show up in that relationship. And if you don't do that, you lose that person that's in front of you, because they can be great, but you have to pour into that person. You have to nurture that relationship in the same way that they nurture it back. That causes you to love them so much. It's a very important thing. And when we don't, I put it in my story the other day, it was like a J. Cole clip and I had people respond. But when you look at love is so much more than like, I feel really good about you right now. Love is a commitment that requires you to continue to appreciate the value of something, even when it has a few bumps and scratches on it. When you first buy that brand new BMW, bringing it back, right? Pristine condition, still got the plastic on it. Cool. After about 50,000 miles, you might have a scratch. A rock might have kicked up on the highway and hit it. Your paint might have got chipped. Someone hit it with a shopping cart. Is it less valuable to you now because it doesn't look the way it did when it came off the showroom floor? Does it mean less to you now because, the interior is a little bit faded, or one of the door got a little scratch on it, or maybe you had to go get new tires because you ran over something? And is it less valuable now because you spilled a drink inside the car and now you got to go get it detailed? Are you going to just throw the whole car away and go get a brand new one? Or are you going to show the appreciation for the value of this investment? Are you going to show the appreciation for the value of what you've now committed to with these payments and different things like that? Are you going to pour into that thing and do the work necessary to maintain it? Because you can go get a new car, but then when you get that new car, 50,000 miles later, you're going to run into the same problems. And if you become someone who's just like, I don't stick to fix a problem, or not even just stick to fix a problem, I'm not someone who is invested in making something work. I'm just invested in how this thing makes me feel. You will continue to chase things instead of making things work and appreciating the value of the things you already have. You'll be constantly trying to replace it. And you get to a point where eventually you can't keep replacing these things. And now it's like, dang, what do I do? You can't keep buying new cars forever. And when it comes to people, you can't keep revolving people in and out of your life. Eventually you have to invest into the value of the people around you. You can't replace your family. You can ignore them and run from them all you want, but eventually at the end of the day, when you really need somebody, for most of us, it's family that's there. Even with friendships, you can say, oh, I'm gonna get a new friend and this and that, but eventually you got to invest in them friendships and have them difficult conversations and appreciate the value and show them you care. Talk to them about things deeper than just whatever is surface level. Like, really pour into your friendships. And when it comes to romantic relationships, you really have to pour into that partner. Love is a complicated thing. It's a very difficult thing, but the most important thing is people need to feel valued, because when, even tapping into my managerial leadership background, one of the biggest things with employees, right? They need to feel valued by the leadership or they are leaving. When you show up at a job and you working 8 hours and you working real hard, and then at the end of the day, you're like, yo, I need this day off. And they tell you no, and you don't feel valued, or you need to leave early for something, you don't feel valued, or they reward your hard work with more hard work and you don't feel valued, or something's wrong and they just throw you a pizza party. People need to feel valued to continue to work at the level they do. And if you don't value who you're with, you can know it, but if you don't do it through the actions, you're going to lose that person. But even taking it a step deeper, it's this same concept has to apply to yourself, because you can know your value, of yourself. You can know hey, I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that, I'm encouraging, I'm amazing. You can know it, right? You can say it all the time, but them affirmations don't mean nothing if there's not an action that solidifies that affirmation. I can sit here and say to myself in this camera right now every day, I'm amazing, I'm talented, I'm strong, I'm handsome. You know what I mean? And if I don't have any actions behind that, if all of a sudden I just stop doing videos and stop speaking and don't care, and I'm not trying to pour into the production, or I'm not trying to get better in any way, shape, or form, I'm not reaching out for help, I'm not doing anything to take care of my body and all these different things, then what am I doing to really show myself that means something to me? How am I showing up for myself and showing myself that I actually value myself? How am I appreciating the value of who I am? And that's where all these other things start from. You can't even begin to appreciate the value of someone else or something else if you don't appreciate the value of yourself and know the value of yourself. You have to know it and then appreciate it. And there's a lot of people who know it and don't appreciate it. And there's a lot of people who don't know it and don't appreciate it. And you have to know who you are. And whoever is on the other end of this camera, I'm talking to you. You need to know who you are. Understand that you are not your failures. Understand that you are not your mistakes. Understand that you are not a loser, a fraud, an imposter. You are amazing. You are strong. You are capable. You are beautiful. And you are loved just by being you. You don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to be somebody else to be loved. All you have to do is be you. And that's where the value is. And I hope that you on the other end of this begin to appreciate your value, show up for yourself, care for yourself, love yourself, because that's where the true strength is. And if you're able to do that for yourself, you can then do it for everybody else. You know how they say you got to love yourself before you can love other people? It's not just that. You have to appreciate yourself before you can appreciate other people, and pour into yourself before you can pour into other people. And what does that look like? That looks like, if you need to go see a professional, go see a professional. If it means you need to take care of your body, take care of your body. If it means that you need to let things go, you need to let things go. If it means you have to really examine some of the cycles in your life and the habits that you have and the relationships you create or destroy, and figure that out, then you got to figure that out. But none of this other stuff matters if you don't first and foremost love and appreciate yourself and your value, because you are valuable. Understand that, like, you are valuable. Don't ever get that twisted. So with that being said, like, I also posted a clip in my story that said something that stuck with me. It stuck with me. And there was a man who said, like, as kids, we value things. And then we get into like the adolescence and we value experiences. And then once we reach maturity, we start to value people. And part of that valuing people is valuing other people, but also valuing yourself. But this made mad sense to me. And I'm looking at it and I was like, dang, okay, as a kid, like, let's say up to like the age of 13, what was the most important thing to me? And it was things like, whether it was my toys or my bike or video games. I got basketball cards, my shoes. You feel me? I valued things. And then I get a little bit older, teenage years, 20s, I'm valuing experiences. What trip are we finna go on? What are we doing for spring break? What party are we finna go to? I done been to so many parties in so many different states and so many different places. Like, the experiences. Where are we going? What we about to do? We outside. Let's do it. And even the experiences you have with people, right? You start valuing those experiences. And then you reach maturity. And I like how he said maturity, because that happens at any point. At any point. It's not an age restricted thing. You reach maturity and you start to value people. And I feel like I reached that earlier than some of my peers, but people is what I really value. Like, you could take away everything else from me, just leave the people in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could take the money, the house, the cars, everything. Take it all, right? Leave me with my people. Because once I value you and appreciate you and see you as someone who is here to stay, you're here to stay. And I'm going to do everything I can for you. But you also got to value me too. You know what I'm saying? We can't do one-sided transactions here. But if you pouring into me, I'm pouring into you. You love me, I love you, I care for you, you care for me. In all levels of relationship, I'm here, man. And there's so many people who can attest to how I show up for them. And I'm still trying to get better at how I show up for people. I'm still trying to get better at how I show up for myself. But compared to who I was when I was in adolescence and youth and whatever it was, like, light years different. And I really hope that we all get to that point in maturity where we start to value people, where it's no longer about, I'm trying to chase a feeling. I'm just trying to feel good. I'm just trying to be happy. I'm chasing an experience. I'm chasing validation. I'm chasing after things that don't want me. You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to fill voids through other stuff. Like, I hope that we all navigate away from that and do that work and heal that inner child and do that shadow work and everything else we need to do to get to that point where not only do we know our value, but we appreciate our value. So understand. You already understand. This is Daily Dimensions. We're back in full effect. Tap in on all platforms. Don't forget to like, leave a review, leave a comment, share this with your baby moms, and tell her I said I love her. Till next time, peace.